Okay, we're back. This is the third back to back. We've never done a marathon, Stephanie, like this ever. So, but we were out a couple of Saturdays. So, but we are going to have Elizabeth Strauss. She's with us already. She's coming on every Saturday, unless something comes up where she can't be present at 2 o'clock until the election. And why am I doing this? Because I have a thing for the underdog. And so I'm hearing some things that she's not maybe being taken seriously or kind of being pushed to the side. Am I wrong on that?
Well, I never see myself as the underdog, even though other people do. But I still think I'm going to win this thing. But, I think, Andrew Warren's strategy is to just ignore me. If you notice, he doesn't respond to any of my letters or emails. And when he talks about his opponent, he's already, put the cart before the horse. He's always referring to Susie Lopez. And I'm like, you're not even worried at all about this primary. But I've heard, from people on the ground, like the deputies and the TPD officers, that, I'm gaining support, and I feel very confident that I'm going to win. Actually, I've
Okay,
already
so
I'm
so
set
let's
a victory party. We're going to Press Box August
let,
20th.
let's talk about August 20th. That's it. That's another one where whoever wins August 20th between them two, Andrew and her, then goes on to uh go against Susie Lopez in November. So let's talk about the first letter. You sent him a letter. You sent it to me to my text.
I
You
sent it to
texted me the
everybody.
letter. Yeah, no, I understand, but so I received it by text. It took me a bit to read it because I saw that and I thought, whoa, it's gonna take me a day or two to like read it. But so just kind of do a synopsis of what the letter contains.
Basically, it just says stop misrepresenting your status to the people. He says he's the incumbent, which he's not. He says he's won his court case, which he hasn't. And he says that the governor will be held in contempt if he were to be removed a second time, which is totally not true. So I wrote him a letter that says, look, you have an obligation as a political candidate and a legal duty as a lawyer barred in the state of Florida to speak the truth to people. And he didn't respond. So, I gave him an opportunity. And then I said, well, I'll post it on my LinkedIn. I'll send it to the media. And nobody, I mean, I don't know if it's just a big conspiracy because he's a millionaire and he's got a lot of money. And this whole, political arena has told me that, the only color that really matters is green. And I don't know if the media just doesn't find this important enough to write about it, but nobody did anything with this letter. And so I don't know what's going on, but I think it's a big deal. I don't think you should be misrepresenting the status of your court case in order to induce people to either give you money or vote for you.
Well,
Because
but he thinks he was illegally removed.
that's fine. I
That's
think
a,
he was illegally removed too, but that doesn't mean that you can just say because you feel some way, like you feel because I want to be the incumbent, I'm going to just say I am the incumbent, right? I mean, what I have a problem with is I want people to vote for whoever they want. And my position is he's not a viable candidate because he hasn't won his court case. He can be removed in the first 5 minutes. The governor doesn't need new reasons. He can use the old reasons of he's incompetent. You don't just get restored to
but
competency.
let me ask you a question. If he wins, let's say he wins, doesn't the 11th Circuit say that they kind of they sent the case back because they said that the federal judge said that he didn't under the U.S. Constitution couldn't reinstate and he didn't have
No,
that remedy, but they disagreed with that. So the
no,
case is
no.
no.
The case is still in the 11th Circuit, and the latest thing that they did was ask both parties to brief on whether the feds even have jurisdiction to hear this case. But even if they did have the jurisdiction, the 11th Circuit remanded it to consider whether the governor would have removed him anyways, because there were 6 reasons. Only, I think, 2 were protected by the First Amendment. And Judge Hinkle already put in his opinion that the governor would have suspended him anyways. So we've already got the answer.
Okay,
Question
gotcha.
that we have, and we still don't even know if they have jurisdiction. But to say that you've won is a total misrepresentation. I mean, he's not going to win. It's a Republican-dominated 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, and now they're waiting to see if they're going to hear this en banc or not. But the way it's left is like they don't even know if they have jurisdiction, both parties. So he claims he entered the race because he got a favorable decision, which is patently not true because me and him spoke in February. He didn't decide to run until mid-April, and nothing happened between the time we spoke and he said, I'm not going to run unless I get reinstated or I get some new opinion, right? He didn't get that, but he just decided to run anyways. And I said, look, I'd back out if you got reinstated. I even signed an affidavit because he wanted me to sign an affidavit after this corner club thing saying, would you put that in an affidavit? And I did. I signed it. I swore I will back out if you get reinstated by April 26th, which didn't happen. I kept my word. He didn't keep his word. So I said, look, I'm not going to back out. You didn't get vindicated. You didn't win, and you will get removed. And it's a throwaway vote. You came out with a press release saying you were going to take one for the team because you knew it was a fool's errand to run. That's his words. And he just changed his mind. You know why? We can look at the court briefings. It said he needed to run in order to protect his rights in his court case. And it says Warren can fully protect his right to run by filing before the April 26th deadline. This was March 1st. Okay. That's what changed his mind, not because he won a court case. He didn't win anything. And to say that he did is not honest. And, you know, I think honesty is the most important character trait the prosecutor needs to have. And I had a lot of respect for him, but it's dwindling quickly.
Dang.
Yeah. So go. You have something to say, I'm sure.
Well, I want to point out something. I was at Tiger Bay and I asked a question of the entire panel, and I left there really frustrated because you were the only person who answered my question. I don't know if you remember my question, but I'm really hip on this. When is somebody going to prosecute these morons who are leaving their weapons in their vehicles?
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, I mean, I bet you $100 that right now there is somebody who's had at least 2 weapons stolen from their vehicle in different times. Easily. So I'm just wondering at what point somebody's going to prosecute. And I was actually kind of
remember the question now. I remember the question, and I remember a lot of the answers were canned responses that they were dying to say what they wanted to say. And
no answer.
I at least understood your question. There were some questions I frankly just didn't even understand what the questions were. But I understood that question, and I think it's very important. We have to hold parents accountable. This is the problem with the juvenile system is all the blame is on the children and none of the blame is on the parents. And the law provides for those penalties. I mean, there are child neglect. There are child abuse statutes. There are things that you can do to prosecute these people, and they should be held accountable. I think if they were, you'd see a drop in the numbers of violent crimes because that's where they're getting the guns. So I appreciate the question. I hope Susie Lopez and Andrew Warren think about that if they end up being the state attorney, that somebody will do something. But, what's really frustrating is that I'm from the Democratic leaders is the pressure and they are so unhappy that I have not backed out of this race. I had a guy at the last debate come up to me and he says, you had a really bright future in politics. I'm thinking, I don't want a future in politics. But he said, you had a bright future and you blew it. And I'm like, why did I blow it? And he said, because you're not backing out. And every time you speak bad about Andrew Warren, you just hurt yourself and the political party. And I'm like, I'm not doing this for Andrew Warren or the political party. I was an independent. I had to look to see if I was even registered as a Democrat because I don't remember what I was because I was independent. I tried not to even get involved in politics. And I found that really frustrating that everybody on the Democratic side is mad at me instead of mad at Andrew Warren. He's the one that said he wasn't going to run and gave all the reasons why. And then he gets to just lie and say, oh, I got a favorable decision, so that's why I changed my mind. Nothing happened favorable between February and April. Nothing. This decision came out in January, 2 days after he made his announcement that he wasn't running. And I called him after that, and he said, I'm not going to run unless something happens. And I had to make a calculated decision. What are the odds that he's going to get reinstated? What are the odds he's going to get a favorable ruling in the next 2 months? Somebody has to run against Susie Lopez. He's made it very clear that he's not interested in running unless something else happens. Nothing else happens. And now I'm the black sheep. I'm the bad guy because I didn't back out. I just don't understand. It just blows my mind that everybody's mad at me because I think it's because I'm not a millionaire.
So your own party is kind of ostracizing you?
Absolutely. They are furious. And I frankly don't care at all. I just think it's odd that people would rather, and this is what, I won't say their names, but several people have told me that they want him to get removed. They actually want to vote for him. They want to see the governor remove him again just so that he can get national headlines, because it'll give him more of a platform to run for attorney general or governor. I thought, wow, how low have we come as a party that we want people to be removed, and we're willing to sacrifice 4 years of, having somebody else run that office that we know we don't agree with their policies and their practices, but we just love Andrew Warren that much that we want him to get removed again just to further his political career. I mean, this man isn't from Tampa. I don't think he's interested in staying in Tampa. If I had to predict, if he even makes it another 4 years, he will not run again. I think he's, got one foot out the door already. And it's frustrating to see people follow money. I mean, there's no other explanation for it, because I feel bad for what happened to him too. That doesn't mean I'm going to cut off my nose to spite my face and say, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to vote for him anyways, just because I don't like, Governor DeSantis. That's a terrible practical mentality to have. And I wish that people wouldn't think like that, because I don't think that's helpful for the community in any way. So that's why I'm staying in it. And honestly, if I lost, I wouldn't be upset. Only way I'd be upset is if he gets removed and somebody says, I wouldn't have voted for him if he could have gotten removed. He said the governor could be held in contempt. He said this couldn't happen. He said he was vindicated. That's what I'm worried is going to happen, is if he won and he beat Susie and he got removed, there would be a whole category of people that would say, he said this couldn't happen. He said he couldn't be removed because he had the protections of the law, and that the courts have said that the governor would be held in contempt. No court has ever said that. Only Andrew Warren has said that. And in fact, the Florida Supreme Court already said with the Orlando state attorney that this is perfectly legal. Even if you don't like it, it's up to the Senate. And he doesn't go to the Senate because he knows the Senate is predominantly Republican. And they're never going to reinstate him. And they're the only ones that the Florida Constitution gives the power to reinstate him. So he's going this federal route, which we don't even know if the feds have jurisdiction to do what he wants to do. But besides, the opinion he says is so favorable is not favorable at all. All it says is go back and determine this. And we've already determined that is not in his favor. So I don't see how anybody could see this as a favorable ruling. And it certainly didn't come after we had the conversation in February. So I don't know why I'm the bad guy and he's the good guy when he's the one that already said it would be silly to run. It's still silly to run. So that's where we're at. He's
scheduled to come on July 13th.
Excellent.
At 1:00. And so if he catches this afternoon's broadcast, he may want to respond to some of the things that have been said. But go ahead, Stephanie. I'm sure you have something to say about everything that's been said.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out if he's saying it would be unconstitutional for the governor to remove him if he got reelected, why in the hell isn't he back in office now?
Right, exactly. And that's what everybody says. If you go to his Twitter, you can see all the comments. And I'm sure they're mainly Republicans, that are just haters. But they're speaking the truth. Even if you don't like what they're saying is right. If you won, usually when you say you win, it's because you got what you wanted. He hasn't gotten what he wanted, which was to get reinstated. And he's not going to. So yeah, he's never going to get his job back. And if he does, his boss, the governor, will fire him again. It's silly to go apply to the same job where your boss has said you're not competent to have this job. And you say, okay, well, I'm going to apply anyways. And it's like, okay, and then I'll just fire you again for the same exact.
Well, I don't think the governor's his boss. I think the people are his boss.
But the governor has made a position that in his mind, this man is incompetent. Whether you agree with the governor or not, that is the governor's position. It has not changed. The governor has not said, I don't think this man is, been restored to competency. I mean, the governor is still in this battle with him and isn't going to back down just because he gets reelected. That doesn't make you competent just because the people reelect you. It just makes the people making a point, right? That they're so mad that they would rather, on principle, vote for somebody that they like, right? Which I am totally okay with.
Listen, if you're right, if you're correct, then the principled things for those who are angry at what DeSantis did, if you're correct, I'm prefacing, it would be to vote for you.
Well, if you want to be practical about it, if you want your vote to just make a statement like, hey, governor, I don't like.
I know. But what I'm saying is not only just practical, which it is that, but I'm saying that if they want to get back at DeSantis for having taken him out in the first place and looking at it, that was illegal. They would do it by voting for you. If they want to get back,
they are so happy because a vote for Warren is a vote for Susie. They're like, great, she's going to push this girl out because she's not a millionaire, and he is. He's going to get all the endorsements, and if he wins the primary, we win. If he wins the primary, the Republicans are like, yeah, we won. It's a win. So I'm trying to spread the word. Look, if you really want to get back at DeSantis, you can vote for me. If you don't care about getting back at DeSantis and you just want to throw away your vote because you want Andrew Warren to get his platform, that national headlines, then fine. If you're just Team Andrew and you're not Team Hillsborough County, then vote for Andrew. But if you really care about the county, you got to vote for somebody that can keep the job. Period. I mean, it's simple. But what I can't stand is the misrepresentations. Nobody has said that his suspension was illegal. That is a ruling that has not happened. And he is saying that the courts have ruled his suspension. No, what the courts have ruled is if you were suspended for one reason and it was this one reason, then it would be illegal. But the governor has 6. And all the court said was go back to the court and make sure that he wouldn't have suspended you anyways. And that judge already said he would have suspended you anyways. So what is illegal about it?
Yeah, but didn't he also say that it was a violation of his First Amendment?
Right. For the 1 or 2 of the 6 reasons, which if that was the only reasons he was fired, then they would have said, yeah, that's illegal. But that's not the case.
But then he thought that he couldn't reinstate him anyways because the Constitution of the United States doesn't allow him, right?
Even now, if they have jurisdiction to reinstate him.
But now they said that he does.
No, they haven't.
The 11th Circuit didn't. Oh, they asked first if
they asked for the briefs, and they haven't even decided if they have jurisdiction because the Florida Constitution says the Senate is the only one that can reinstate or remove.
But did the 11th Circuit say that he could reinstate him? But even though, so if they don't have jurisdiction to even decide that, then yeah. Right. But that's they think that he would have. If they had jurisdiction.
The 3 panel did, but then DeSantis appealed it and asked for en banc, and the en banc said, give us some reasons why you think we have jurisdiction.
And when I'm asking, I'm referring to the 3.
Yeah, the 3 said you have jurisdiction if he was fired just for the violation of the First Amendment.
Okay.
But not for other reasons. They don't have jurisdiction over the other 4.
I understand now.
He's got a big problem, and he doesn't want to admit it because it's not beneficial to him. How does it benefit him to tell people the truth? Which is, we have no idea if the feds have jurisdiction. We have no idea if I'm going to get reinstated. And we have no idea if I'll get removed. Then people will say, well, that's a lot of questions. That sounds like we're back to when you said you weren't going to run because you were going to take one for the team.
Right. So you're a safer bet voting wise than he is what you're saying.
Safest with Strauss.
We didn't plan that. We didn't plan that.
I didn't plan that. I speak just off the cuff. What really is the truth is what comes out of my mouth. And people don't like it, but that's the truth.
I love it. And I'm sure Stephanie does too, because Stephanie does the same thing. Let me ask you. So if you will not prevail, if you do not prevail in August, are you going to support him?
No. Why would I support him? He's misrepresenting himself, and he's not a safe pick. I'm going to be upset because it doesn't matter who I support. It's Susie Lopez. Either way, I vote for Susie Lopez. I get Susie Lopez. I vote for Andrew Warren. I get Susie Lopez. So why would I support him?
That's a good point.
Why? The person that's
true. Because you're going to get Susie Lopez back because DeSantis is going to do the same thing over again.
Okay, so look, we're going to have some good questions for him on July 13th.
Well, you can get ready for some silly answers because that's all he knows how to give. He's not going to speak the truth because I've given him every opportunity and he doesn't take it. He doesn't want to admit the facts, but it is what it is. Even notwithstanding that, what people need to understand is he wasn't doing open file discovery. He wasn't advocating for cameras in the courtroom. So
let's take one at a time. You talked to me before about the cameras in the courtroom. I like that. Let's talk about that.
Sure. So when I was a prosecutor in New Orleans, they had cameras, and I didn't know. Somebody once told me, like advocates here, somebody that was a newspaper. I thought it was like a victim advocate. That was the name of their newspaper. Then somebody's like, you're on Court Watch NOLA 24/7. I'm like, what's Court Watch NOLA? They're like, the cameras are always running in the courtrooms and you're constantly, because even as a prosecutor, I just speak my mind. And sometimes I say things that people are like, okay, wow, she's, really speaking her mind. And I'm like, okay, well, it doesn't matter. I don't act differently because a camera is on. And if other people do, that's their problem. And maybe we need more people to be held accountable. And I don't see how anybody could be against transparency. I mean, all you're doing is allowing people who don't have the means or the money to get to court. And in Tampa, it's not cheap. You got to pay for parking. You got to find a way to get there. And a lot of people just skip it because they can't get there. That's not a good reason to not attend and not see what's happening. And I think everybody would be on their best behavior if they knew that the judges were being watched, the lawyers were being watched, the defendants are being watched, the bailiffs are being watched. You don't have as much misconduct. So that's something that I want to advocate for right day one. There's no reason. The cameras are already in there. So just figure out how to link them to Zoom. That's how they did it in New Orleans. Each division has a Zoom link. You go to, the New Orleans court website, and any division you click and boom, you get to see what's happening the whole time. Nothing's ever taken off, So if you want to go something's in private, you go with the judge and the court reporter in the chambers, and you do it in there. If it's something that's, has to be confidential because of, safety reasons or whatever. But by and large, the people should be able to see what's happening. I don't like all this secrecy stuff. And prosecutors need to be held accountable, and they need to know, just like with open file, we can go segue now to number 2 of my day 1 implementations. Open file, hand it over. What is the problem here? Why wasn't Warren doing that? It's not a novel concept. I mean, I thought it was novel because I had never seen it before in Florida, but in New Orleans, they weren't the first people to do it either. It's been done around the country for years. All it is handing over everything you have. You have to give everything anyways, but they try to hide stuff, and there's no reason for that. So hand it over. There's no secret. It's not a win, me versus you. It's a seeking the truth. So it is what it is. You have to let the chips fall where they may, and everybody has to be okay with bad facts coming out. It is what it is. Like, that is what this criminal justice system should be about. And it's about time that we start being honest. And what it does is it builds trust with the public. The public trusts people if they can see that they are being honest, and they can trust the police officers. That's why body-worn cameras are so great. We want to see what's happening. So it's not the police's word versus, an alleged defendant's word, or it's one person, if you can see it, you're going to believe it. And it's a lot better to have the proof than not have it. And it's a lot better to hand everything over than think, oh, I don't think this is relevant. I've had prosecutors tell me that all the time. That's not relevant. I'm like, okay, not relevant to you, maybe very relevant to me. And so let me see, and I'll decide if I think it's relevant. And then the judge can decide if it's relevant. But prosecutors shouldn't be deciding what pieces of paper in their files they think are relevant, because sometimes they are skewed and they want to win. And they don't think something that's bad for them is relevant because it's not good for them. So I don't like that.
What do you think, Stephanie? The camera idea.
I love it. I absolutely love it, because as somebody who's a city council junkie, and I mean, seriously, that's what I do. I live and breathe that place. And I watch if I'm not here, I'm watching. And if I don't get to watch it then, I watch it later. And I watch a lot of public meetings, and I've always kind of wondered why they weren't recorded here. I think they should be, because and it's very interesting, because and I think it would help our legal system be better, because when you have other court cases that are similar to that, and you get to go back and you get to watch and look at and see what people say and pull the actual video. I mean, I've had people who tell me, oh, I didn't say that. I'm like, oh, wait, but here it is. You said it. And they can't stand it when I do that. But I mean, it's all about transparency and accountability. And what you guys are working on, no matter which side of the table you're on, is the truth.
That's right.
I mean, that's what it's really about. I'm sitting here kind of in awe, I guess, because the last time you were on, you were a nice, sweet young lady, and I'm like,
well, no, she is. She can be both.
Because I mean, it's the truth.
Well, last time we were on, Warren wasn't in the picture, right? And when was that? That wasn't after he didn't get some favorable decision since we spoke. right? He gave me his word. I'm Italian. Your word is your bond. Okay. You gave me your word and you backed out. And now I'm the bad guy. I don't agree with that. People need to know what happened, why I said I'd back out. I said I'd back out if you got it was a very calculated decision because it was risky. My dad, my mom, I've imposed a lot of my campaign on family members. And, we're like putting in a lot of our own money and time and energy into this campaign. And we all like sat around and thought, okay, what are the odds that this man is going to get a favorable ruling or get reinstated by April 26th? And all of us were like, very, very little. And we don't want Susie Lopez to run unopposed. Nobody else wanted to step up. And it was a calling that this cannot happen. We cannot let this person win just by default. And when we made the decision, and he called me in the middle of April, I thought he was calling to give me his endorsement. And I was like, yes, finally, this money's going to start coming in. We're not going to have to worry about like every little thing. And instead, he's like, I've decided to run. I'm like, did something happen? He's like, no, nothing happened. I just don't want my case to go moot and stale and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, well, I have to think about this because that wasn't really one of the reasons why I was going to back out. And then when I told him I wasn't backing out, he said he was disappointed. And I'm like, well, I'm disappointed too. So we can both be disappointed at each other. So that's the way that it went down. And that's how I feel. And that's the truth. So he can run. I'm not against him running at all. What I'm against is him not telling people the truth about why he's running. And it's not because something happened. And that's what he's saying. He's saying something happened, nothing happened. He just didn't want his case to go moot. And that's fine. But tell that to the people. Be honest about it. And then let them make an informed, educated decision about whether they want to support you so that you can have your national spotlight or not. But, he's wishy-washy.
Okay. Well, you have something to say to that, Stephanie?
No, I'm totally okay with it. I mean,
safer and funner with Strauss.
You say it like the Strauss Center almost, but it's Strauss.
Yeah. Strauss. I'm sorry, Strauss.
No, I don't care. You can say it Strauss, whatever. Martinez is easier.
Just vote for her. She doesn't care. You can say it however you want. Just vote for her.
Just the viable candidate, the one that's not going to get removed.
Yeah. Okay.
So
it's not
Max,
Strauss. Strauss. I'm going to remember the U.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk. We have a couple of minutes left, and again, Elizabeth's coming on every Saturday unless something happens where she can't until August 20th. You said you're Italian. You're Spanish too, right?
I got my mom is Cacciatore.
Oh, I gotcha.
So yeah, Cacciatore. My grandfather was Giuseppe Cacciatore, very Italian.
Okay, got it.
Martinez, very Hispanic sounding name. So I've got all that passionate blood running through my veins, both sides.
Yes, you do. And so let's just here. I want you to talk a little bit about the open file.
Open file is so simple to explain. It literally means handing over every single thing that you have in your file. Everything. The only things that you can redact are like social security numbers. That's it. Like
who are you talking about handing over things?
Like to the defense lawyers. To the defense lawyers. It's not for the public to see, from the prosecutor. So the way it works now is the prosecutors have a file and they go through it and they pluck out stuff like a police report and, a witness interview, but they don't give you necessarily like their notes or a police officer's notes about another witness that they talked to or pictures that, they don't.
Some of that is work product.
Some of it's work product, but unless it's like something in there that is like got some identifying information or
what about a confidential informant?
That's you can redact the name, but you can still give up the fact that there is a CI, right?
Can it be sometimes that they give you everything that they think that they have, but then other things come along during the progression of
that happened to me as a prosecutor, and then I'd say, look, I got a call. Some guy's talking at the jail. I don't know his name yet, but when I get it, I'll give it to you. And defense lawyers were very appreciative of that because that's what you should do. Same thing with photographs. They'll be like, I have 100 photographs, but 90 of them just show the same thing. So I'm only going to give 10. Like, no, just give me all of them and I'll decide if I don't want those other ones because maybe those other ones show a different angle or they show somebody in the background who could be a witness or whatever it is.
So what do you think that under his administration, then what was not being given?
I don't know. I'm assuming the same stuff that Susie Lopez is doing. Remember, I've been in New Orleans and before that DC, so I never worked here when Andrew Warren was the state attorney. But
because I'm interested in finding out what case is it where a defense attorney claims like, oh, they withheld this discovery that I was entitled to.
This case I just enrolled in pro bono. They claimed that there were like 10 video surveillance images from a bank and some Bayshore Boulevard that were never handed over. And at first the prosecutor said it didn't exist. And now 13 years later, oh, we found it. It's like, okay, well, great. Can we see it? And a recorder from the car, like, oh, we said it didn't exist and now it does exist, but there's nothing on there that's useful for you. It's like, okay, well, maybe not.
But they had it.
They say they didn't know they had it, but it doesn't matter.
Okay. Gotcha. So, but I don't know that happens like routinely though.
It doesn't necessarily have to happen routinely. I mean, when you're talking about people's lives and people, I mean, when you're sitting at the jail with these people, it doesn't take but one person, right? It's that important that even if it only it's like, if I told you one pill in a Tylenol bottle was lethal, would you take the other ones? Be like, oh, well, I mean, the odds are it's not going to be the pill this time, but it's still risky and it still could be somebody's life that is completely ruined because.
No, I understand. I understand what you're saying. What I'm saying is that I don't hear enough of anecdotals where colleagues are saying this is endemic here of that this is happening. This is continuously happening. Where I'm not. See, you know what problem I do have currently that is happening where body cam footage, the officers are shutting the audio off.
Oh yeah,
that is a problem to me because that goes against the very reason why we have body cams to begin with.
Of course, there should be a presumption that the defense gets to win every time they turn off the camera, and that will deter them from doing that. Because why are you turning it off? I had that happen to me in a case where the whole confession was when he turned off the camera. I'm like, oh, conveniently, when the camera's off is when he confessed.
But that's not I don't know that that's something that the state attorney can do. That's something that the sheriff's office, the law enforcement agencies have to say have a policy in place where that's not going to be tolerated.
They have policies. They already say that you can't do that, but they do. The police officers, they want these convictions and they want them to stick. They will work with you and you talk to them. I was very good at getting officers to go above and beyond just probable cause because that's what they're told they need. But until they have a relationship with a prosecutor that they like, that they can trust, they're not going to go the extra mile. And that's with trainings and with frequent interaction. You can't just like put up a wall and say, you do your job and I do mine. You have to get together and get these people to trust you and to know that you're all on the same team. It's not us versus them. We're all in the business of keeping the community safe and whatever we have to do as a team to get there. Republicans, Democrats, independents, whatever, everybody has to work together or it doesn't work.
Okay, let me ask you this. Is there anything that you think that Andrew Warren did while he was in office that was good?
Like I said, I wasn't here. I wouldn't know. I mean, read about like not focusing too much on low level stuff, but you can't just come out with any blanket policies that you're not going to do, like prosecute any of them. But I do believe in triaging. You should start with murders, right? And so he does tout one thing you can confront him on is he goes around town saying, under my administration, crime is down 32%. He keeps saying it over and over again. So I went to the data and I saw that murders have hit an all-time high in 2020 under the same data that he cites on Twitter, the FDLE data. The last year that we have available is 2020. I look and I see murders just go up till they hit an all-time high. So when he's talking about crime being down, he's talking about small things that I think are probably the crimes he said he wasn't going to prosecute, like driving with license suspended, petty thefts, misdemeanor stuff, not murders. And when you talk about crime and you're going to say it's down, you can't have the most serious crime of all be at an all-time high. That is extremely misleading. And when you're going to triage, which I agree, let's not focus on small stuff, but you can't ignore it because little things lead to big things. But first and foremost, murders. I mean, I take murders the most serious because they affect people the worst. It's the worst crime that somebody can go through, to lose a loved one, and they can't come back. And of course, a kidnapping is bad. Of course, a robbery is bad. But if you're alive, you're alive. When you're dead, you're dead. And that's the worst possible thing that can happen under a state attorney's leadership. And he has, unfortunately, the highest murder rate that Hillsborough County has ever seen. So don't tell people crime's down 32% and leave out the fact that murder has reached an all-time high. That's not, I don't think, very honest.
All righty. Well, so you're going to come on next Saturday and at 2:00, and I'm sure you're going to have other things that you're going to discuss that you're going to implement. Oh, wait, hold on a second. Okay, so Elvis. Okay, so you want to call in? Elvis Piggott wants to call in.
How does he do it? He's asking. He needs the phone number.
Oh, I do. So let me go ahead and set that up so that he can call in. Give me one second.
I know this is Pastor Pickett. I think I've spoken with him.
Oh, I'm sure you'll remember as soon as he opens his mouth.
Okay, so let me.
I have the same problem. I'm not talking about him like.
Oh, this is gonna be funner than I thought. And I'm all for it. So there's the number.
Go, Elvis.
Hold on a second, Elvis. Let me see. Let me just set this up so that he could call in. Hold on. Yikes.
You can give him my cell number, and then he can call. I can put him on speaker. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
I give everybody my cell phone number. That's what also stands me apart. Victims, defendants.
Give me 1 second. Tell Elvis if he's probably watching. He was just trying to call in.
727-214-4930.
Sweet. Yikes. I'm just.
Well, while Haiti's doing that,
Now, let's do this. Let me do this. Here. This is what we're gonna do.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So I'm putting you next to the mic. All right. What do you want to say, Elvis?
All right. Great show, of course. Thank you for all that you do. My biggest concern here is, as great as this candidate for state attorney may be, I think that it is an injustice to Andrew Warren for you to attack him. We know that Hillsborough County and the African American community is at all time on the chopping block. I believe personally that what you're doing to say these things open the door. While we hope that the Hillsborough County come out in great strength, it opened the door to assassinate him. You're saying that Susie Lopez is great for the job. Let's face it. Let's be just real. I contacted you and spoke with you when Andrew Warren was not in the race. It was very clear that as long as Andrew Warren is not in the race, we wanted someone that will make sure that they focus on our community and not prosecute African Americans unjustly. When Andrew Warren got in this race, we as a community would have thought you would have done the right thing and stepped aside. It is completely unjust to see at forums and to see what you're doing to sabotage, to just talk untrue facts concerning a state attorney that was inappropriately removed from office. We need people that's going to rally behind justice and not continue to support injustice. Thank you, Florida. You be the judge. Thank you, Stephanie, for your time. And Elizabeth, I believe that you have a great future ahead, but I really believe that you should have listened to someone to tell you that this action is going to truly be a hunting process of your political career. When you say that you wasn't even here with Andrew Warren to even know what he's done, that's a sign already you don't know this community. And you should have took some time to get to know the community before you thought you could come in and do something that can help the community. Have a good day.
Well, alrighty then. Listen, this is America. This is America. I love the fact that everybody says what they want to say, and they're not refraining from saying something or saying, let's have a town hall or town square virtual conversation. And I'm sure you have something to say back.
Well, I want to say something first.
Okay, go.
Because Elizabeth, just like me, is a military spouse. And you know what? When you're a military spouse, you go where your spouse goes. And sometimes it's not home. That's all I deal with is military folks. I mean, you don't get to pick where you live when your spouse is active duty military. So Elizabeth has gotten drugged all over the country, and I'm sure she would have rather been here at home than being drugged all over the country by her military spouse. So we got to remember that. And you know what? I've only lived here 12 years. But I know more about the city of Tampa than most people will ever know.
Absolutely.
Because it's my home now. So
and here's the thing.
You weren't here.
This is what I want to make clear. I am not saying that Andrew Warren wasn't maybe the best state attorney in the history of state attorneys. What I'm saying is that he is in a pending federal legal battle with the most powerful politician in the state. He has not been vindicated. He has not been reinstated. And if people like Pastor Piggott want to vote for him, knowing that he could be removed day one, I am totally okay with that. If people like him and respect him that much because of what they did for them and they want to take that gamble, that is a gamble that they have a right to take. What I don't agree with is somebody saying something like the governor will be held in contempt if he even tries to remove me again without any factual basis to say that, or saying that you've won your court case and you're just waiting to be reinstated. That's not true. And it's not an attack on his ability to be a good state attorney. It's just an attack on his representation as to how viable of a candidate he is to serve another 4 years. You can like him, you can love him, you can feel bad for him, you can hate the governor for doing it, but that doesn't change the facts. And so this is a perfect example of what is happening to me, is that as soon as Andrew Warren changes his mind, I'm supposed to back out. This is why, I looked back to see when the last primary was for a state attorney in Hillsborough County. There's never been one. There's like an unspoken political rule that you don't run against people in your party. So I'm sorry that and
that's a bad rule.
It's a bad rule. And just like maybe people don't like Biden, not because they don't like him as a person, but maybe they just think he's too old. And they think he's too old. Can we not get somebody else? But I think it's another unspoken rule that if Biden wants to run, whether he's, competent or not, people will get behind him. And I think that mentality should change. I don't know why everybody is so up in arms about having options. And I'm not saying that he wouldn't be a great state attorney if he could hold the seat. Maybe he would be, but he wasn't doing some of the stuff that I would do. That's all I'm saying. I don't know why everybody is so upset with me, but I think there are people besides Pastor Pickett that do appreciate what I'm doing and like the idea of having another option. And he, wants to criticize me for not being here. I don't think Andrew Warren's going to be here for very long. Even if he were to be able to keep this seat for 4 years, he's not going to be here for 20, 30 years. This is a temporary stepping stone for him, no matter what.
Okay, so listen, Elvis, and I'm going to post his comment because I want Florida Judge always to be that dissenting voices are heard. I don't want this to be controlled like in communist dictatorship countries. I want everybody to be able to say, you can call in. I figured out the glitch, Elvis. If you want to call back, we're going to be able to hear you better. And so, but I see, I'm never going to try to dissuade somebody from running. That's the fact. Every American has the right to vote or to run for office. No party should tell somebody sit down. You shouldn't go, because that's what's healthy about elections, that no one feels like that. Okay, here he goes. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, so Elvis, listen, I would have sent you a link.
All right, we got 15 minutes.
Go ahead.
15 minutes.
All right. Well, And just for Stephanie to bring out that about military, let's be clear, no one is speaking of that. And so we don't want to try to be doing no throwing stuff just to throw it up into a wall and see when it stick. Let's be real. Let's stop that. No one is talking about her military experience. We respect whatever, her husband has done. We respect military wives by far. That has nothing to do with it. It was very clear stated that she has not been in the community to know the heartbeat of this community. If the military has took her all over the world, kudos, we celebrate her. It does not change the fact that she has not been here. There is no rule of thumb that you do not run against an incumbent. Make no mistake, I'm running against someone that has been sitting in the seat for 4 years, not because of him doing such a phenomenal job. You run when you think that you are the person that can do what is necessary to be done because you see what has not been done. Andrew Warren, again, there is no reason an incumbent will get someone running against them when they have been outstanding. That's why it's hard to get someone to run against an incumbent when the incumbent has done the job. I'm the first person to say Andrew Warren would be on the chopping block and we will want him out had he been a state attorney that has not done a community justice and have not been fair and have been gave injustice to African American community. We all want Hillsborough County safe. Let's make no mistake. We all want crime rate down. Make no mistake. We all believe criminals should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Make no mistake. We're on the same page with that. But what we're not on the same page is if you had decided to run for state attorney, at least run with the merit that he has not done this community justice. He has not prosecuted. He has not done what he needs to do. That's not the story.
Okay, so let me make a point, Elvis. Listen, you're very you're with your finger on the pulse of what's happening here in this area, but you have been at times traveling back from another state to this state. Am I correct?
Correct. I have a home in Texas, and yes,
that's
most
right.
definitely.
So even though you have a home in Texas and you travel out there and you stay out there and you have business out there, you still follow what's happening in Tampa. That doesn't mean that you
not follow. I am present.
Oh, okay.
On the ground, physical.
All right. Well, but
I have a question though. What does that have to do with the price of rice in China? All I'm saying is he's going to get removed, and he's saying he's not going to.
All I'm saying is you don't know that. That is speculation. That is not accurate, and you don't know that.
The governor, you don't think Governor DeSantis is going to remove him?
Absolutely not. If he was going to remove him, he would not be here campaigning in Hillsborough County, having private events, doing everything impossible, raising as much as money he can for Susie Lopez to beat Andrew Warren.
Why do you think Andrew Warren said he wasn't going to run?
He wasn't going to run because there was a court litigation pending. The court has already made their decision. It's not pending at this moment.
It is. It is. Do you know where we stand right now with the court cases?
It is
pending.
pending.
This is the problem. This is the problem.
No. There's no. His reinstatement is pending. No, his reinstatement.
Katie, this is the problem. This is the problem. Pastor Pickett thinks that Andrew Warren has won his case and that his reinstatement is pending. This is the problem. This is exactly the stuff I'm talking about. He is telling people that he won his court case. Pastor Pickett, I am sorry to be the one to break it to you. He has far from won his court case. He is not even close.
So listen, Elvis, Andrew Warren's coming on the 13th. We'll ask him then if his reinstatement is pending.
Yes, please do. And make sure it's recorded because it's
Well, when we run for office, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, when we run for office, when I decided to run, I'm running right now. When I decided to run, it's count your costs. You look at it, you assess the situation, you assess the landscape, you assess the grounds. You make conscious decision about if I decide to run. Number one, the person I'm running against, have they done a job that is worth me running against them? Number two, do it make sense for me to run? Is there a path of victory? Joe Biden's situation that you mentioned is because the Democrat Party is wondering, is there a path to victory? Can Joe Biden beat Donald Trump? That's the question.
I know,
and I will hope.
Yeah.
I will hope that Elizabeth sat down and asked herself, and Heidi, you know, because I picked up the phone and called you about this state attorney, this candidate. I called you about her, and I say, hey, we need to it's no one running. She's running versus Susie Lopez. Let's get behind her and support her. Did I not call you?
Yeah, you did. That's fine. Listen,
Yeah,
Elvis, but Elvis, listen, this is what she's saying. And I don't know yet. I'm going to read further into it and look further into it. Andrew Warren is going to come on the 13th. We'll discuss that with him. We'll bring that issue up. What she is saying, if you caught the broadcast from the beginning, she signed an affidavit. He said he wasn't going to run. Everybody was awaiting to see what he was going to do as the deadline to file.
As well as myself.
Exactly. And he had no intention. He was saying at the time that he was not going to run. Okay. So all she's saying, she said, listen, if you're going to file before and you have a favorable turn of events with your possible reinstatement, then I'll get out of the race. So, but what she's saying is he's going to be gone. If he wins in November, DeSantis is going to yank him off again. And she's saying that there is, like you're saying, the second prong of whether to decide whether to go forward, whether there's a pathway to victory. And she's saying her position is he doesn't. She do not have a path to victory as a Democrat running against Andrew Warren. Bottom line. I love her energy. I can agree.
I love her tenacity.
I do too.
I love who she is. But stop the madness. She has no possible ability.
But Elvis, why should she get out? When she got into the race, she went to him first and said, hey, are you going to run? And he said, no.
And listen, if she didn't have any possible...
She should get out because...
If she didn't have a path...
She should get out because she's wasting a person that has the biggest path to victory to beat the state attorney.
But here's the thing. If that's Elvis, if that is true,
you all should
he's going to be the person to run against Susie Lopez anyway. Right. If what you're saying is true, he's going to run against her anyway. So...
Right.
Yes, he's gonna run against her. He's gonna run against her and give her. And Elizabeth is giving Susie Lopez team and staff all of this negativity ammo and all of this stuff to be able to use against him, costing him to waste money to get in over in the primary, get his name out when it should be a November focus. Andrew Warren need to be focused on November, and that is looking at what's ahead, not an August primary.
By that concept, Elvis, if you truly believe that, then this primary would push his name out further because there's more to talk about.
Now, Stephanie, we don't need Andrew Warren. Don't need his name pushed out further. It's been pushed all over the freaking. Okay. Lord have mercy. Come on, we talking politics or we talking jokes?
Here, Pastor, is that I think that you are actually believing that his reinstatement is pending. I feel it in my heart of hearts that you think.
No, I believe that the Supreme Court said that his removal was unconstitutional. Did that happen? If that's wrong, I want to call Andrew Warren on the phone and say you lied to me, and everything that I read in the paper was a lie. Did the Supreme Court say his removal was unconstitutional?
They did not. No Supreme Court said that. In fact, they said the opposite recently with the Orlando lady, that it was totally constitutional. Even if you disagree with it, there's nothing unconstitutional about what the governor did. And no court has ruled that his suspension was illegal, not a single one. And he will be removed again. And that is what I'm trying to correct the record.
Why don't we dedicate next Saturday,
yes,
Elizabeth, to talking just about this issue? How about that?
I've read all the opinions. I hope everybody else does, because where we stand now, he is telling people that we're back in the trial court, which we're not. We are still in the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, where we are discussing jurisdiction of all things. So we are a far, far cry away. The Florida Constitution specifically gives the governor the power and specifically gives the Senate the power to reinstate or remove. He's not gone to the Senate because he knows he'll lose because it's a Republican dominated Senate. And he knows they're the only people under the Constitution that can actually give him his job back.
All right, so this is what we're going to do. He's
sad.
scheduled to come on at 1 on next Saturday.
Great.
Maybe you should come on at 11 instead of 2, if you can, so that we can discuss this issue and this issue only. And then he'll have the benefit of having live seen the 11 o'clock broadcast, and so will you, Elvis, so that at 1, when he comes, should he desire to respond to anything of points that you made at 11 to 12,
especially the
then
Supreme
he's able
Court.
to do it between 1 and 2.
Here that the pastor has been told by Andrew Warren that the Supreme Court, of all courts too, the Supreme Court, not just the 11th Circuit Court.
No, the Supreme Court did not have a favorable ruling.
Has not given him a single favorable ruling. And the public is being totally misinformed, including Pastor Pickett. And he's going to have a hard conversation and some tough questions to answer because he has in no way won his court case and his reinstatement is far from pending.
Okay, so with this, I think it's fair. You come on at 11 on Saturday, next Saturday, for an hour, just you, Stephanie, me, and we're gonna give you the floor, and you're gonna make all the points. And listen, I'm gonna do my homework before Saturday.
I hope everybody does between.
I'm gonna do my homework, and so if anything is said that I think is not that is accurate, then I'm gonna have something to say. So 11 to 12 next Saturday, you have the floor. Andrew will come on at 1. He's
well,
talk about
at 1 o'clock when Andrew Warren comes, I want to surely hear how we can help him and get him over in the state attorney office in November. Thank you so much, Heidi, for everything. Thank you, Stephanie, for everything you do. And Elizabeth, keep running, keep your momentum, keep your passion, keep your zeal. It is wonderful. And I tell you, it's going to be a beautiful thing in the future to see what you're doing in the city of Tampa. Thank you so much.
Thanks for being
Thank you,
so
Pastor. I appreciate Pastor's involvement too. We need people like Pastor to be involved.
Yeah. And he's disagreeable, but he's being civil and he's being courteous and professional.
He's very professional. I have a lot of respect for him. Do want to make sure that the public knows what's happening. And this is he didn't take it as far as some of the other leaders have taken it, which is he has such a following of people that love him so much, which is great. But some of them, I don't know if pastors in this category, they don't care. Even if the governor came on national news and said, just to clear it up, I'm definitely removing him. Okay, which obviously the governor's not going to do because then he's not going to get elected for him to remove. So he's going to keep that to himself. But even if the governor said that, I still think people would vote for him because they hate the governor that much and they love him that much that they just don't care about the practicality of him actually being able to keep the seat. And that's what I just want to make sure that people that vote for him know you're taking a risk, a very big risk. And if you don't think you are, think again and read the court opinions because it's very clear that he is a long way from getting reinstated. I would bet you a lot of money there is no chance before November that he gets reinstated. Now, whether or not he gets removed day 1, day 2, in 5 minutes, in 5 seconds, I don't know. But the idea that the governor is just going to say, well, I changed my mind. He's not incompetent anymore. I think because some time passed, he probably was restored to competency and he's going to be perfectly fine, in my opinion. I don't think that's this type of governor. But, if you want to take that chance, fine. But this constant, getting at me because, I said I'd back out. Yeah, I said I'd back out if something happened, like he was reinstated, like I said in my affidavit. If you get reinstated by April 26th, I will back out because I don't intend on running against an incumbent. But he says he's the incumbent. I have an LGBTQ plus endorsement form that says, are you the incumbent? And he puts yes. That is not true. Whether you want to be the incumbent is not the question. It's, he is not going to be listed as the incumbent on the ballot. Look, the sample ballot's already up. I put it on my LinkedIn. It has Elizabeth Martinez Strauss and Andrew H. Warren, and it doesn't have in parentheses incumbent next to his name. So he can say he's the incumbent all day long. That doesn't make him the incumbent. Susie Lopez is the incumbent, like it or not. Ron DeSantis is the governor, like it or not. I'm just being practical, and I'm giving people a viable option should they want to take it. If they don't, that's what democracy is all about. Go Andrew Warren. Hope you don't get removed, but I'm not holding my breath.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up. Everyone have a great rest of your weekend. Elizabeth's back next Saturday at 11. This is the issue we're going to talk about in more detail. And thanks, Stephanie, for joining me for a marathon Saturday.
Anytime.
Okay. All
All right.
right. Everyone have a great week.
In a week.
All right. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.